Hi, I'm Abhishek Gupta, co-founder and CEO at CreMatrix. CreMatrix is a real estate analytics company covering across the length and breadth of India, real estate assets across whether it's an office asset or a retail asset or warehousing and now even residential. Our aim is to create a product which has deeper data, wider geographic coverage, as I said earlier, across different asset classes, which is sitting all embedded onto a tech platform. We should be able to cover and cater to all stakeholders, whether it's a financial institution we should be able to help them lend better, a broker to be able to broke better, an investor to be able to invest better, and a developer to be able to develop better. Finally, the occupier or the user or the consumer to be able to get the best deal in the most transparent manner. Why and how did we start this? So that's an interesting one. About 12 years back, I used to head research at Jones & LaSalle when we tried creating a product similar to this, REIS. And the idea was to bring in as much transparency in this opaque market, which is real estate. Then I moved on to Bank of America when I became a user of the same product I created. And so being on both sides of the table, the creator as well as a user, I then realized there's so much more that needs to be done. And then of course I ganged up, got together with my two co-founders from IIT, and we started this about 3 years back. So firstly, these two products or any other product that we've created should be able to help not only developers but all the other stakeholders I mentioned in any situation. Today the market is going through a cyclical downturn, but even when the market is doing very well, it should be able to help them. How? Whether it's CRE leases, so let's talk about CRE leases first. CRE leases is all about the commercial sector, whether it's offices, malls, high streets and warehouses. The idea simply being we are able to capture all information from strictly the most authentic source, which is a registered document, which is a public document. The idea is to bring in as much information from those documents and put them onto a cloud platform to enable anybody, again the same stakeholders, let's talk about developer for now, to be able to value his asset properly, to be able to do rental benchmarking if he wishes to be able to do feasibility or competitive analysis. So that's on the CRE leases front. Coming to Home IQ, which is a larger brother, residential, far greater volume. Just to put something in perspective, let's say there are 5,000 office buildings. There are more than 1 million residential towers in just our city, Bombay. So there again, we are doing a triangulation method. One is the registered document, of course. Second is the foot soldiers who go and get a feel on what's building, what's getting built. And third is our new regulator called RERA. So combination of this gives you a holistic view on what's happening, or who's launching, what's getting built on time, is it a typology, how much 1 beds, 2 beds, 3 beds, what's the area, what sells the most, which area sells the most. So all this analysis can be done on the platform directly. So when it comes to being the largest custodian of registered, so it's not, that's of course our main source of information because that's the most authentic source. But we're also getting information, as I mentioned earlier, from our foot soldiers who travel all over the city and get information on what's getting built on time, how much is getting built. And of course, as I mentioned, so there are government sources, there are foot soldiers, and of course our clients. We talk to brokers, our developers, our banks, all these stakeholders all the time, and there's a lot of information that comes in from there as well. So all these three sources put together gives us the added advantage to then help our client create as much value as we potentially can. As far as our competitors concerned, at the outset, let me tell you, we love competition. We should, and I think everybody should, because it keeps us on our toes. That's number one. Second, as far as differentiation is concerned, I think to my mind, the differentiation purely comes from people and the services that we bring to the table. The data, the tech, fine, all due respect to that, that's fantastic, that's great. Data is the new oil. But when it comes to people, the cohesive team that we've been able to put together, and the services. And when I say services, speed of services as well as customizable to what the client wants. So let me give you an example. Let's assume a landlord and a tenant were to register a document on 1st October. The critical thing from our platform is to be able to identify which registration has happened now within those 10,000, 15,000 assets across, whether it's a Delhi or a Bombay or a Bangalore or a Chennai or a Hyderabad or a Pune, right? That's the most critical thing. Then we purchase it, we read it, we extract as much information from that, and then we make it available on the platform. So to my mind, that whole process would be about 4 to 6 weeks. So that would be, and just from my experience in real estate, 4 to 6 weeks is fairly real time in real estate. I think that's the best part about this business and why it excites me the most to be here. Government organizations all over the world, we all know, might not be the easiest set of people in terms of availability of data or the cleanliness of data. I think so that's the first challenge. Second, not all of India is digitized. It's digitizing. Let me explain what that means. One, in terms of which states are digitized, because real estate land remains to be a state subject, right? So Karnataka might be ahead of Orissa, and Orissa could be far behind Madhya Pradesh or whatever it be. So one is how much of that state is digitized. Number two, how much history is digitized, right? So is it gone back 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? I think so that's one challenge. Challenge number two. The third is the vernacularism in our country. We have more than 30 languages. So a Karnataka document might be in its local language, in Kannada, a Chennai could be in Tamil, a Maharashtra could be in Marathi, and so on and so forth. I think a combination of these complexities is challenging, but also that obviously then that gives you the opportunity for people like us to marry this into a usable tech platform. So again, there's data, there's tech, there's to be able to service your client properly. It's a combination of everything, right? I think I won't talk much about data because data is obtainable. If I can do it, so can you. No rocket science there. But I think the key would be how are you able to keep your ears open, understand what your client wants, and don't forget, we're talking about 5 different categories of clients, right? You're talking about a broker, you're talking about a developer, you're talking about a bank or a financial institution, you're talking about a user and an investor. The key thing is if you can create a product once, refine it 100 times, but sell it 1,000,000 times to these different people. I think the team who's able to do this effectively, keeping his ears open and customizable, I think that'll be the thumbs up in terms of, that could be the entry barrier for anybody else who wants to come in now. Frankly, to my mind, there are a dozen challenges which a Proptech innovation can help, but you asked for 3, I'm going to share my 3 favorites. Number 1 is accountability and transparency. I'll give you one example. If I take a loan from a bank, the bank would ideally want to disperse home loan based on the construction that a developer would do. The only way they were doing that is by sending staff, people to go there and see how much has he built. Developers could take pictures and send it to them. But now I think accountability and transparency across more aspects can be done by drone technology. I think drones are going to create a different level of information being available in real estate. That's number 1. Number 2 is ease of doing trade or title clarity. I think that's a big challenge across the world and more so in India. I think blockchain going forward will just make it so much easier to be able to do trades in real estate because of its sheer transparency and accountability put together. The third, which is my favorite, is just lack of intelligence and market intelligence and that's where we come in. That's the space we are in, we operate in. So we bring in, as I mentioned earlier, the data, the analytics to all stakeholders to be able to do better business, and just helps everybody in the run, right from the developer who wants to build, or the landlord, all the way to the consumer. So these would be my 3 favorites. But note, whether it's accountability, transparency, ease of trade, and intelligence, data is pivotal and sits in center of all three or 4 of them. So back to data. Oh, by far, absolutely. Let's go back 15 years. You didn't have listing platforms. You were only solely dependent on brokers. Now you have listing platforms. Consumers can go sitting in the comfort of their house, open a laptop and understand who's building, what's going on, right? So that's 15 years back. So it's disruption has happened and it is here to stay. Some other aspects we mentioned earlier, I think the government has been pretty kind to allow drones to operate. We'll have to see how far that goes, but that's number 2. Data being the massive new oil all over the world, that's going to be a huge disruptor to be able to clear and make business more transparent, availability of analytics for, again, I'm going to repeat myself, all stakeholders to be able to do better business. So disruption is here to stay across, whether it's IoT, blockchain, data, analytics, drones, all of them combined is going to be big in their own little way, disrupt the old systems and methods.